the first definition I wrote down for activism for myself, and I wanted to think about it, was, okay, what are we actually talking about? So I said, I think we're talking about using action to catalyze transformative results. So then I look at this and say, well, but what's the essence? What really is the point here? And it led me to, can I come up with an even shorter definition? And the shorter definition is catalyzing transformation. So then I contemplated for a bit. Activism is about catalyzing transformation. And then I came to the realization that it's actually reversed, that the two concepts should be reversed, because catalyzing transformation is the first principle, right? Catalyzing transformation is the first principle, and activism is just one way, or what we recognize in what we have so far spoken about activism by way of demonstrating is just one way to achieve it. So then I ask, what are the other ways to catalyze transformation? And the two questions that come up are, what do you hope to transform? And how do you hope to bring about that transformation? So that's the contemplation I stayed with for a bit. And where that led me was to reflect on the three social spaces, the three activity spaces where you can imagine the paradise that Enrique started with, and the circles of passion that Athena, you're describing. And those are, it's the idea that really, if you look at society, you will see three different spaces of activity: the political space, the economic space, the cultural space. This is an insight that initially was framed by Rudolf Steiner with his work after the First World War. He was asked by some people in Germany, could he offer a framework to facilitate the transformation of society? And essentially he said, look, and he called this the threefolding. It became the threefolding movement, but it never really got off the ground. And the essence of his idea and why it is relevant for us in this conversation was that the political space, policy and government, the economic space, the space of business, the cultural space, the art, the science, the religion and education and the media, they each need to be in a healthy society. In Enrique's paradise, the three are emerging individually, and they should be given the freedom to express their passions and their interests in as independent a way as possible, where the unifying essence is equality and freedom for all, and each of the three spaces is emerging independently of itself. The reason we are speaking today, I believe, is because we are at an end of the 80 or the 100-year cycle where those three spaces have reached an intractable lock, where they are very much locked in each other, where the political space is captured by the economic space, and the political agenda is captured by a cultural agenda, or you could say the political agenda has captured the cultural agenda, rather than the three actually emerging independently. And I actually believe we have already entered the breakdown of the release. We are in the early stages of the release of the 80 to 100 year cycle, when the powers to be, the power gets concentrated with very small cross-section of society, and the political elite, the economic elite, and somewhat the influencer of cultural elite. In our context, it will, for example, be Hollywood. They very much are converging in the seat of power, and what you expect is that the coming decade or two in this story of change will lead to a new release of power. Now, we are in that cycle of release probably early in the conversation. And so it would not be surprising, Athena, that you say, I feel somewhat, we don't have a model to influence. What's a way to influence the agenda? Because the cycle right now and where we are is these three spaces are still very locked in each other. There isn't a freedom for them to emerge independently. And so then I did one more step. I said, let's step back from this three-folding model and let's look at truly independently of any limiting definition. What are the different paths to effect change and transformation? And I painted 8, came up with 8. You may add to the list. But I thought that would at least open for us the arena in the broadest possible way to think about change and transformation. So the first is, you may say, I have a passion for how society and how the world should look like, and therefore I'm going to go into politics and government. And you may lead into any of the three branches of government, the first, second, third estates, the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch. This is, by the way, a mini play on three-folding, the idea of the separation of those three. Or you may say, I don't feel that that's a space where I can impact change, so I'm going to go into business and I'm going to lead by innovation, or I'm going to lead an aspirational business agenda, or I'm going to build a B Corp, and Ofer may educate us a little more about the way of that movement and what benefit corporations and what they bring to the world. That's another path for change and for transformation. The third is, you may say, I don't see a way to impact the world through government and through business. I'm going to dedicate myself to the non-profit world, to NGO work, and anything else that would qualify in that space. And then, of course, the fourth lane is, many people feel that the way to impact change is to tell the truth, to bring the truth, the story of what is occurring in the world, and they lead themselves into media. And in this framework, I only came to activism as number 5. But the point I was realizing as I was thinking about this, you could be an activist in any of those spaces. And I think the particular energy of our conversation today was in your suggestion that there is a way to actually integrate the 6th path with the 5th one, where you can bring art into activism. I added in this framework also 7 and 8, which is, you may say, there is a way to, in the long term, impact change through education and through religion. But that's the kind of framework that I found in my own inquiry. And the one last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you comment on all this, is let's just recognize that you can truly be an activist in any of these spaces. Along with our website at portalsofperception.org, Portals is also available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, as well as social media. You can become an active member and join the conversation in community events. And you can help us get the word out by liking this content and by sharing it with your friends.